Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, and all that other good stuff. This is Mac. This is Friday. It's Chat with Mac. We're glad to have you. And for those of you that are joining us for the first time, welcome to our little podcast, I guess you can call it. Nadeem, how's it going, sir?
Oh, going pretty good. It's kind of storming and thundering outside, so you might hear some background noise.
Yeah, if my screen gets a little frozen, I'm sorry. It's raining bad over here today, and I didn't even expect that to happen. How's the work week been going?
Oh, pretty good. Can't complain.
Yeah.
I think my uh, I've got another wave of symptoms kind of from my last vaccine shot. So it was fine. First I got a little sick like on the third day, and then I was fine, and now I'm feeling like a little off again, like I don't know, like
Mm.
hazy, like almost like if you're hungover. I mean, it almost seems like that, but but
Jeez.
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I still haven't pulled the trigger. And funny thing is, my doctor actually got. See, oh God, this reminds me. I actually have to make an appointment for next month, and he was like, "Hey, when you come in, I would like to give you the first dose of the vaccine." And I'm like, "Doc, I don't know if I'm ready for this just yet." Especially since I'm trying to stall him. Like, yeah, I got antibodies. You sure I need this? But he's so yeah. I'll let you know, and everybody, if you see me with like three eyes and four heads, you know that I got the vaccine.
No, it's been I mean, I'd rather have the little bit of symptoms now and get it done than
Yeah.
get the full blown, because it just impacts different people in so many different ways. Some people might not even know that they got it, and then some people it's just kicking their behinds. So
Yeah.
it's such a big
Yeah.
variance. I remember my sister was telling me at the hospital she got one family. Dad has one set of symptoms, which is totally different than the mom, which is totally different than the kid.
Good
And
Lord.
then ultimately found out each one of them had COVID, but the symptoms were so different. One seemed like just a headache, one seemed like a stomach bug, and the other one was just a fever. And it's like they're so different. It's like, how do you, I mean, but it is what it is.
It is what it
Um,
is. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, we're not experts on health or anything like that.
No,
We're
we're
not
not. We're just
doctors. So, hey.
regular guys. We're just regular guys that one guy that took it, one guy that's trying not to, but I'm gonna end up having to. So but so Nadeem, as always, our rally cry has been around the area of security. That's our biggest thing. And again, I always make sure to remind people about this that I remember when all of this was going on, one of the dean's biggest things that he tried to tell people over and over again is that the attacks that we were seeing, but we were seeing some attacks before COVID, but man, afterwards, the attacks on infrastructures and even actual machines, has just
Yeah.
skyrocketed. And so now here comes this whole thing with Pulse Secure, and it looks like they might have got hit. I mean, maybe you can explain to us what's going on there, as it, especially with everything that we've been talking about.
Yeah, let me put it up on the screen. So basically what it is remember, and some of the folks might remember a few videos ago we had a video where we talked about how Microsoft's Office 365 MFA already had a proof of concept to bypass MFA authentication.
Yep, I
I don't know
remember.
if anybody recalls that, but that was done. So in this case, it is something very similar, where the MFA is bypassed, and this is for Pulse Secure VPN appliances. We at PCSN don't use Pulse Secure. We have our own applications that we've developed based on some open source technologies where anybody and everybody can look at the source code and fix any vulnerabilities or issues. Pulse Secure VPN appliances, that's a closed source system, and they just had a very sophisticated attack against them, where the attackers gained access to the file system of the appliance. The Pulse Secure VPN appliances, they do have a multi-factor authentication system. The attackers can bypass that, so they can get access to the file system, full access to the file system, and this is they're trying to do everything right. They're trying to implement credentials, security, complex passwords, and then on top of that, they're trying to add a second factor of authentication. Mac, we were talking a few days ago, and I gave the analogy of that net and phishing, and I think now we're talking about phishing with an F, not the PH phishing, but the FISHING. So the way security works is it's always a layered approach. As you make your net smaller or finer, fish still get through it. It's just smaller fish get through it, right? So as your security tightens, you're still open to breaches / compromises, but just a much different set of breaches, a much different segment. So that's in this case it was almost like Pulse Secure had a smaller net, which is pretty much what everybody says is go to that size of a net, but yet something happened, a big fish just went through it.
Yep.
So in this case, it was a fine net, and I don't know what's going on, why the bad guys targeted these guys. I mean, there's got to be some incentive for them to target. Maybe they knew about this vulnerability and they were just sitting on it for a while until the time was ready, so they can use it and attack customers of Pulse Secure VPN appliances. So maybe some target got Pulse Secure VPN appliance, and that's when the bad guys came up and said, okay, we need access to those systems. Now is the time to use this vulnerability we've been sitting on. I don't know what the details are around this, or what transpired there. The thing that we know for sure right now is that their multi-factor authentication was bypassed and the bad guys got access. The thing is, you need to make sure that you take that layered approach. Even if you have VPN appliances and VPNs set up to access your systems, kind of like when we set up customers, when we give customers the ability to log into their office, we can allow them to simply connect over the public internet, log into their machines, and go about their business. But we put all of that, we put it behind a VPN, because that gives us now two layers. So we can monitor the VPN layer, and we can monitor the second layer where they're remoting into their machine at the office. So when somebody breaches the first layer, that's a red flag to us. So at that point, we can basically pull the plug and disconnect both systems, so there's no flow back and forth. It's almost like if you're keeping an eye on your machine and you detect that your machine is infected with something, what would you do? Go unplug that network cable so it doesn't, spread. Yep. Simple. Just go unplug that cable. And that's why we set up multiple layers of security, so that if we detect something going on in one layer, we can simply disconnect the other side from the side that's compromised. I mean, this is pretty much standard industry practice now to have a layered approach. This is the new norm. You can't. I don't know if any. Well, there might be some customers or prospects that I remember talking to a prospect and the way they were set up, I think we did an assessment, and the way they were set up, they had RDP access enabled to their servers directly from the public internet. I mean, that's such a gaping hole right there. You can secure everything else as much as you want. You can spend $50,000 getting top of the line equipment to secure yourself, and then you leave this gaping hole. I mean, it just boggles the mind why somebody would do that. But there are companies that are doing that. And then they get breached, and then it's time to do some damage control and all that. And a lot of the companies, if they're smaller, if they're small business, they just quietly brush it under the rug and keep going, unless there's enough fallout that their customers start to notice and complain about what's going on. But the thing is, this is, you want to choose the right multi-factor authentication for your people. Don't go by whatever is cheapest or whatever is, included with whatever plan you have or whatever service you have. Look for something that has historically not been compromised, that has historically been secure, and it is actively supported. Now, the reason I say actively supported is, from my perspective, it doesn't matter if you go closed source or if you go open source. I'm not one of those diehard fans of either one. Both have their place, both work. The thing to go for is that make sure there is no history of compromise or breach on any one of them, whichever way you wish to go. There's pros and cons to both sides of it. And combine that with other layers of protection, like what we do. So we have VPN, we have intrusion prevention system, we have SIEM, which is basically our NOC monitors event logs. So if we detect certain new connections coming from a certain IP address on the other side of the world, then that's a red flag for us. So we're going to block that entire subnet. We're not going to block just one or two IPs that we are seeing. We're going to block that entire subnet, and that's what security is about. It's about keeping. Here's another analogy. Maybe some people will understand this better. Look, the bad guys only have to win one time. They only have to get in one time. Yeah. One time they get in, the damage is done. They're happy. They're good. You, as the good guys, have to prevent such a breach every time. If you fail just one time, the bad guys won already. So the cards are stacked against you. The cards are stacked against the good guys, because the good guys have to catch every attempt, because if they miss one, the damage is done. But the bad guys, all they have to do is win one time. That's it. The bad guys are getting more sophisticated in their attempts. If they find a hole in a network, they are sitting waiting for the right opportunity. In the case of this vulnerability that we talked about, we don't know how long the bad guys knew about this, and they were just sitting on it, waiting for the best time to launch the attack. And that's what happens a lot of times. So the idea is, if you are monitoring event logs on your systems, if you have something in place where you have a security operations center monitoring what's going on across your machines, across your network, then chances are you are going to find anomalies. For example, it is one thing to look for anomalous behavior, but it's another thing to look for certain files sitting on your machine with a checksum that does not match the checksum that file is supposed to have. And the reason I say that is because there have been times when the bad guys would use a file name that is the same file name that Microsoft uses in Windows. So basically what they're doing is they're replacing that file with the same name with their own payload. So now that file, whenever it's loaded, you're actually loading the bad guy's payload into your memory, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
so if you check the checksum on these files, then you can tally it up and see if is that the file that it's supposed to be. It's almost like you're confirming the identity of the file, of the program in that file.
Yeah.
And that, you know, that's one of the things that, and we're going to announce this fairly soon. That's one of the things that one of the services we're going to start offering is to where our security operations center actively monitors all the files on every machine in a network. So when we detect one of these files that is different than what the checksum tells us it's supposed to be, we can take remediation action. And this is going to be automatic. So we don't want, you know, a person to be sitting there, you know, day and night, you know, drinking coffee and keeping an eye on things. We want this process to be automatic and have a way to escalate things. So we want it to be where we can, you know, if the automatic process cannot remediate, then we want to escalate it to a human to take action and do the remediation. And I think that's where the future is. We have to do something like that. Otherwise, you know, it's just a losing battle because, like I said, the bad guys, they only have to win once, but we have to win every time. If we lose one time, the damage is already done. So, you know, it's the cards are stacked against the good guys. It's just the way it is. And it's unfortunate, but it is the way it is.
And ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna, you know, plug this. Everything that Nadim is talking about now and more, May 13th, 9 a.m., the questions that you have in regards to this, because I know for a lot of people, this might be a little bit higher level, but the great thing is that Nadim can bring it to where it's a lot more understandable. If you have those questions, call us, email us, we'll register you on the spot. It's going to be great because Nadim will be able to answer these types of questions, especially now. As you see, look, between this, I think something happened with Microsoft. You know, these are big companies. Imagine the smaller companies that we deal with that they don't announce. You're the ones that they're looking for, and Nadim can make sure to lead you in the right path so you're better secured.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is not, you know, we're not trying to sell anybody anything. This is just an educational webinar. So the more questions you have, the better it is, because then everybody in the webinar will learn. You know, a lot of times people are afraid to ask something that, oh, it's, you know, maybe it's you know, a simple answer to this, but there's no such thing there. You know, it's like I tell, you know, my grandkids, and they're like, yeah, but you know, Poppy, you know this, you know. I'm like, I wasn't born with this. I learned. If you don't ask the question, you're not going to learn. So you know, nobody's born with this stuff. You learn over time, and that's the thing is, bring your questions, and there is no question that shouldn't be asked. If you thought about it, I can guarantee you somebody else is thinking about it too. So,
Agreed.
So, you know, so yeah, join us on May 13, 9 a.m. We're going to keep it short. It's going to be 20 minutes of webinar and then 10 minutes of question and answer. 9:30 we'll be done. We'll let you get back to business. So I think, you know, we'll call it a day at that, Mac. And I want to hope everybody stays safe, not just, you know, from the biological bad things, but also the hackers and these breaches that are happening, because they're just multiplying. Like, I mean, they're like multiplying like bunnies.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. So everybody be safe out there, and we'll see you next week.
Everyone have a good one.